Since the early 2010s, the sound has dominated the industry and has gone on to influence countless artists worldwide. Yet, when looking at the origin of drill music, there's often a name that gets overlooked. It's the one that jump-started Chief Keef's career, and the one that has played a hand in shaping the career of every other artist I've named so far, and many more. The name is DJ Ken, and today I'll be telling you how he went from a homeless migrant roaming the southside streets of Chicago to a hip-hop legend. His story begins in the late 1980s in Japan's Yamagata Prefecture, a northern region of the country which is known for their fruit production and heavy rainfall. DJ Ken spent much of his early years here, following the traditional path of going to school in hopes of getting a higher education and eventually landing a stable career. One of the things he really enjoyed, which he describes after learning that the band's vocalist, Kenji, was also in charge of producing the music, he became fascinated with the idea of making music himself. As he continued to dive into different genres, he discovered Nas's Stillmatic and Cam'ron's Come Home With Me, which immediately made him a fan of US hip-hop. After graduating from high school, he began his higher education studying music. With each passing day at university, he became less and less content with his place in life. He didn't want to be confined to a small world in Japan, which, in his words, lacks diversity. He wanted to explore, to be someone, and to make an impact on the world. So, he eventually dropped out of university and began saving up for a trip to the good old land of opportunity, the United States.
Sometimes they're different people.
Despite speaking zero English, having zero connections, and very little knowledge of the US, he left his family and flew over to LA with the goal of studying English and filling out the city for a year. He quickly realized Los Angeles wasn't for him, and after 2 months, moved to New York City, where he would live and work for roughly a year before he again decided to try another city. He researched different places online and came across an article ranking Chicago as the third best city in the US after LA and New York. His only knowledge of Chicago was that artists like Kanye and Lupe Fiasco were from there, so he figured there could be some music opportunities. Once he learned Chicago also had decent public transportation, he was set. However, this time he wouldn't be making a move alone. He had adopted a pit bull mix named Tyson in New York, so together they quickly made their way to the Windy City. With nowhere to go and no one to properly communicate with, Ken resorted to staying under a bridge downtown while he figured things out. Oblivious to Chicago's infamously dangerous areas, he would walk around the city, suitcase in one hand and Tyson in the other, looking for a place to stay. He eventually found himself walking through the south side of Chicago near 63rd and South Indiana, an area where crime and violence was the norm. Being a 20-year-old Asian dude, walking alone, with a suitcase, speaking broken English, he stuck out like a sore thumb. Eventually, a group of guys started to come up to him and tried to lure him onto their block, but luckily, another man stepped in and shook him off. His name was Big Keith, and in that moment, he unknowingly played a major role in influencing the future of music. That same day, Big Keith listened to Ken's story and offered him a safe place to stay with relatives in exchange for paying rent. Trusting Big Keith, Ken agreed, and thus began his life in Chicago.
Look on dollar.com to get a low.
And the things he was able to fit in his suitcase. But he had a vision. He still wanted to pursue music, and after landing a part-time job at a Japanese pub on the north side of town, Ken slowly began to save up money and buy basic producing equipment like a computer, mic, speakers, and DAW. By the end of 2007, his first year in Chicago, Ken had everything he needed and began to teach himself how to produce. Although he studied music a bit in Japan, they never taught him to use any programs, so he was starting from scratch. He tried looking at tutorials and guides online, but at the time, those didn't exist yet, so he had no choice but to learn by doing. He spent all his free time experimenting and working on understanding the tools, sometimes recording with Big Keith. As he shared the home with Big Keith's relative, other members of the family would often stop by. I remember the moment I heard a knock and opened the door. Standing in front of me was a 12-year-old Chief Keith. He had heard we were making music and was interested in trying it out for himself. So DJ Ken and the young Chief Keef began working together. When me and Chief Keef started recording together, all I knew was that that pressing the triangle meant play, pressing the red circle meant record, and pressing the two lines meant pause. I didn't even know how to export tracks, but I was able to learn really quickly because I tried. I didn't give a fuck about being the best back then, and I just wanted to make shit. From the beginning, DJ Ken could tell that Chief Keef was different. Although he didn't fully understand the lyrics Chief Keef was spitting, he could tell he had an original style. Despite no one believing in them, they were extremely hungry for success. The two became a power duo and started putting crazy hours into making music. Many months later, they finished their first mixtape titled UF Overload. It was released in October 2009 when Chief Keef was only 14 years old. Even though it didn't take off, it demonstrated that the two were serious about making music. Now you can only find a couple songs from it online, but it's interesting to listen through and see where things all started.
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy.
Booth, giving Ken more practice and exposure. People like Blood Money, Swag 9 Mill, Lil Durk, Lil Reese, Fredo, Capo, SD, Tato, and other members of GBE were just some of the names that came through the studio to work with Ken. Swag 9 Mill recalls the early days of working with Ken. Ken couldn't speak for shit, like we were just human beings bonding over music, because if you asked Ken to do something, he couldn't tell you how he felt about it. He was still understanding how English worked, so basically we were just going off sounds in the beginning, like what sounded good to us, what sounded good to him, but he made it work, you know? In 2010, DJ Ken dropped two projects, Chicago Mania Volume 2, which featured local acts including Chief Keef and Blood Money, and another Chief Keef mixtape, Moolah Express. The duo of DJ Ken and Chief Keef's work ethic was unbeatable. The two constantly pushed each other to improve. Many people that entered the studio didn't listen to Ken's advice or take things seriously, but Chief Keef always did.
Ken used to give leeway to you can do what you want to do, but because Ken would record, he also had requirements, and basically, Keith was the only one that listened, and he always would say, write your songs out, make a full song, don't just go ahead and freestyle. So we all used to come in there like, what up, Ken? Yeah, we finna make some songs, but Ken really was on some we finna do this shit, and this ain't no fake, don't just come in here saying anything type shit. But we always did, up in the freestyle, Ken get mad, don't wanna record, come on, man, I forgot what he used to say, it was so long ago, but he just give you that look like he don't wanna do it, but he's go ahead and record you and shit. But Keith actually sat there and wrote his shit down and shit, and actually did that shit.
Together, they put out the Glory Road mixtape in July 2011 that featured many members of GBE. It had some sick beats, and despite its amateur sound, I think it definitely still holds its weight to this day and is inspiring to listen to.
File claims with a tap.
He wanted to branch out of the producer role and started filming music videos for Keith and other local talent. His studio became like a second home for a bunch of artists. I had this sofa, about 2 meters wide, and it was very cramped, with 5 or 6 people usually sitting in it. They were allowed to crash on it whenever they pleased. Then, in the morning, they'd get up and leave, and at some point in the evening, everyone would be back in the studio. Their hard work would begin to pay off after Chief Keef's single, Bang, released in that same month and started to create some buzz around the city. I remember when I really knew he was going to make it, kids in the area would come up and tell me that they were playing our songs in school and in classrooms. Our YouTube views weren't that many, but people saying that shit meant a lot. Kids were hyped, said DJ Ken. Once the music video that D Gaines filmed dropped in August, Bang became a hit within Chicago. The dark lyrics, raw energy, and realness of the video attracted many people to the small taste of success only pushed the duo to continue working harder. In October 2011, they released Chief Keef's iconic mixtape, Bang, which would further push his popularity in the city. And on Thanksgiving 2011, Chief Keef would perform his first ever show at Chicago's nightclub, Ariana, which would really put Sosa's fame into perspective. It's a really big club that everyone goes to, and at the time, Chief Keef was like 16, and I was like 24 or 25. Ain't no radio ever played us at the time, but yet the whole crowd was singing all of the lyrics. It was crazy, like, what the fuck? Everybody used to laugh at me, and nobody knew me, but now, I'm DJ Ken. I'm the one who really made the beats. I made the beat to their favorite song. From this point on, things would begin to move really fast for the two. They continued working together, but also started to collaborate more with others. By the end of 2011, DJ Ken would go on to release a collab tape and a ton of music for other Chicago talent, including Sasha Gohard, KO, Bully Cash, Boa, and Pac Boys, to name a few. Sosa started working with other producers like Young Chop, and in early 2012 went on an insane run, dropping straight banger after banger. It started off with the release of 300, which is produced by Young Chop and filmed by DJ Ken. 300 was amazing. Seriously, it's a big deal. We were already at the top in Chicago, and we were famous for being from the South Side, but when we released 300, we became nationwide, said DJ Ken. 300 was followed up by I Don't Like and Love Sosa. Each song and video went viral and launched Sosa into the mainstream. They were able to show the world that you didn't need the best equipment, a fancy studio, or a label backing to make a hit. Authenticity and ambition was all you needed. It really started a whole new era of music and music videos that is still ongoing to this day. With cosigns and remixes from Big Nick, Kanye, Soulja Boy, and Rick Ross, Chief Keef was the hottest rising star anyone had seen in a minute. Offers came flying in left and right as labels fought over signing Chief Keef. Sosa began discussions with the labels and exploring his options. When the GBE family went to New York to talk to labels, DJ Ken was mentioned and even reached out to, but nothing ever came of it. In the end, Sosa signed the biggest deal ever seen for a rapper at the time with Interscope Records, and his new producer, Young Chop, signed with Warner Brothers. Chief Keef stopped coming to the studio as much, but that didn't change a thing about DJ Ken's dedication to music. DJ Ken kept holding it down for the community and worked with artists in the area, including Capo, Trey Savage, Fredo, Fallout, G Herbo, Boss Top, SD, and Pretty in Pink, sometimes producing both the music and music videos. In 2013, he dropped a tape titled American Dream and also started his Shibuya Tyson clothing line, which would eventually turn into an all-encompassing media outlet brand down the line. As DJ Ken's name spread online, more artists from around the globe started to reach out to Ken. Sida, a Japanese rap artist, was one of the first to hit him up on Facebook. I kept up with the Japanese rap scene on YouTube, so when I received a friend request from Sida on Facebook, I was surprised. Like, are you really Sida? Do you know who I am? Turns out the answer was yes, and after their first Skype call, they had an idea for their first project together, titled Concrete Green, the Chicago Alliance. Ken worked virtually with the artists in Japan and also continued to produce for people in Chicago. The project released in April of 2014 and was the first rap album to ever include people from Japan, Chicago, and even Korea on the same track. Ken continued to collaborate with artists from all over and created many insane, unexpected mixes, like included Capo, Black Cray, Blade, Just So, and Sida. He wanted to showcase his talent as a visionary and blend together a variety of sounds. After Blade engaged with one of his posts on Instagram. I listened to all their music and I thought that shit was hard, So I said, let's make something. They show me a lot of love and respect. I fuck with them. They make crazy music. They love to try new things. From this point on, DJ Ken produced so much music, both himself and other artists, it'd basically be impossible to find and name them all. But it's safe to say he continued on his creative grind, going all across the US to work, but continuing to be based in Chicago. He built up his Shibuya Tyson brand, creating a website where he sells various products and writes news blogs. He also focused on the Shibuya Tyson YouTube channel, posting interviews, throwbacks, vlogs, tutorials, and music. Unfortunately, DJ Ken began to run into immigration problems with the US and was facing deportation back to Japan due to lawyer fees, unfulfilled royalty deals on his music, and general life expenses. He began to struggle financially, which took a toll on his mental health.
I'm fighting for this case. Couple years, 6, 7 years, I need some help, so that's why I came to speak in English and let people know what I'm really going through, I'm still hoping, wishing, all this can be better, and trying to present myself, better way in the world, so any way people can support, I would appreciate it,
In 2020, he decided to relocate to Cali in hopes of furthering his career. He literally packed up all his things in the U-Haul and drove across the country himself.
I came to California, I drive myself. It's crazy story, but keeps you going. One Japanese dude, still trying to make something happen out here, Keith Myers and Peter, the people really help me out, hook me up, somehow, I'm still here, they say, I have to go back to next March, 2023, I have a couple more months to, get myself together and work on whatever I can, so I got a little more time, I'm grateful, back in Japan, taking me out of that chance, and thanks for everybody helping me out, you gotta be grateful, man, never know what's gonna happen in the life, always stay positive, even when time is hard.
It's 2024 now, and the situation seems to be ongoing, but in the meantime, he has been given more time in the States. DJ Ken seems to be taking full advantage of that and putting in tons of work, doing music, collabs, videos, clothes, live shows, and snow strippers, an up-and-coming EDM group, has been meeting with new artists like Haunted Now, and has been seen rocking a bunch with Chief Keef again. I helped him when nobody was there for him, and now he's done the same for me. Whatever he does, that shit's gonna help me because we came up together. I don't ever want a handout from him, but he does a lot for me out of the bond we've built together. I want to earn everything I have. It's insane to look back at DJ Ken's journey. It's almost like if it was fate. So many things could have gone differently. Ken could have stayed in Japan, he could have stayed in LA, he could have stayed in New York, and he could have walked past the south side of Chicago. But instead, he happened to run into Big Keef outside, at that specific time, on that specific day, and the rest was history. It might sound like an exaggeration, but music would not be the same if DJ Ken never took the risk to leave Japan and chase his dreams. There seriously could have been no Sosa or any of the artists he'd go on to heavily inspire. DJ Ken is a true dream chaser. Ever since the beginning, he knew he wanted to be someone and was willing to sacrifice everything for it. He left his entire family and life behind, moved to one of the most dangerous areas in the country without speaking a lick of English, and managed to make it out through pure hard work and dedication. DJ Ken is an inspirational legend and should forever be remembered as such. To anyone else out there with big dreams,